have not lived in your time. You have not lived. If you have not lived in your time, what does this mean, to live in your time? When the United States suffers with more than 960,000 people infected by COVID-19, and New Jersey State alone with more than 105,498 COVID virus patients. During this global shutdown, how can we live and affirm the validity of life as the everyday saints of God? Some pastors around me concerned that the future of Christian church came too abruptly and unexpectedly, without sufficient preparation for how to navigate and do the ministry in the virtual space. While some people say that during this unusual timeout, some of us may be getting an early glimpse into what our retirement might look like. What does this mean for us Christians to live in our time in such a challenging time as this? And during this transitional time, many people can be deprived of psychologically, economically, and also spiritually. I think we face a deep spiritual challenges as well as a host of other problems, unable to deal effectively with this radical change we face these days. At times like this, when many people experience spiritual depravity, we need the everyday saints with love and vigor, with dedication and passion for upholding the gift of beauty of everyday life. In Phyllis McKinley's famous phrase, he says the saints are the Mount Everest of human species. To round out the picture, I would like to celebrate the less celebrated, those saints who may be worshiping here this morning, and affirm the true significance of their presence among us. If you are cooking 3 meals and plus to feed multiple members of your family every day during this lockdown, you are the everyday saints. If you are collecting canned food for the food shelters and preparing meals for the Harrison House, Center for Food Actions, Habitat for Humanity, and those who are easily overlooked in our society, you are the everyday saints. If you are feeling exhausted and wishing to have 30 hours per day and 8 days per week because your task is just too much, as you work at home and faithfully carrying out your parental care and duties for your children, I will say you are the everyday saints. If you go to work every day in the industrial sectors of essential social services and attend your task faithfully and fearlessly in order to support everyday life of people and to make sure that life goes on, you are the everyday saints. If you are allocating your valuable spare times, and if you can find any in these days, to make homemade masks for the healthcare workers and others, you are the everyday saints. whatever you do and however ways you extend your pastoral cares and support for those people who are in need around you, you are the everyday saints. As you affirm the beauty and the dignity of everyday life from where you are the everyday saints who take upon the cross of Jesus Christ, and you become the living expression and witness of God's love. So here is to the saints among us, in whom there is no time of eagerness for finding bad news, because life is too short for grumbling, hatred, resentment, and blaming others. Here is to the saints who, by being committed to transform their everyday chores into sacred vocations. Here is to the saints who, by being fluent in the language of service and confession, and will help others to alleviate pains and resolve conflicts forced upon by COVID-19 pandemics. You know, saints don't make excuses. They turn excuses into excursion of service and helping and charity for others. By the same token, they don't excuse others. They don't confuse the virtue of compassion for the sinners with the vice of condoning his or her sins. You remember the prophet Nathan. Prophet Nathan didn't say to the King David, "Oh king, you know, I understand that you must be under a lot of pressure. It's lonely up there, making all those important decisions for people. Maybe you need it to release your stress in some way." No. Nathan didn't do that. He called out a sin, dangerously though it was. He said, "You are the man, King David." The everyday saints are the ones who refuse to compromise of what they believe in their heart. So protecting and honoring the very basic human rights is not a philanthropy, but must be a basic Christian commitment for all God's people. We must understand that if we demean the humanity of others by any means of ignoring and neglecting their dire situations, especially those who are in the margins of our society, we also demean our own. For those everyday saints knows what Jesus meant when he said, "If anyone to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." In following Jesus,
Where is he? Where should he?
We are also called to be a more visible in the arena of everyday life. Jesus said in the Gospel of Luke, "No one lights a light and put it under the tub, but they put it under the lampstand where it shines for everyone in the house." So dear friends, no matter where you are and what situations you are in, be faithful to what you believe and what you do for others. Be resilient as you take upon the cross of Jesus in service of others by being who you are to others, and sometimes much more than what you do for them. You shine little light of your own. So times like this, we need to be humble and yet we need to be bold, because visibility is vital. Lamps are not made to be concealed. They are to be positioned so that the light may flood the darkness surrounding them. I fear in the days ahead that as some people in the world continue to deal with the COVID-19 in overtly selfish way to increase their personal gains, while so many good Christians will continue to do good too covertly. Visibility is vital, because you are the light of the world, especially time like this, dim and dark times. Because the darker the day becomes, we need the brighter light to shine through. I also fear that even when we do good, we may do good with the Hollywood mentality of the world. That in Hollywood, there are only stars and the rest of the world. And the rest of the world consists of less significant extras. That's the way sometimes many of good Americans feel, who are overworked, overcommitted, overtaxed, and overstretched, but many times underappreciated, like those Hollywood extras. If we only look for the stars in ways to cope with and overcome the current COVID-19 crisis, there will be a deep spiritual problems for ourselves and for all of us. When we reach out and help those who are in need, we must not consider their economic and social rights as simply a matter of philanthropy. It is the fundamental command that we Christians must honor and do. For Christian charity is not a matter of philanthropy. However, that's the way the much of the third world often feel, as much as the socially marginalized in our society. So here is to the saints who are both humble and bold, who are fluent in the language of service and confession, whose spiritual muscle capable of generously assisting others in need, but never finding excuses. These everyday saints know that visibility is going to be vital. And here is to the saints among us, some surely right here in our church and in our worship today, who in the days ahead will insist clearly and loudly that love is not a luxury, and that the wealth is acquired to share, not just to keep for ourselves. And that there must always be a star in the flag for America's destitute people. And that Christ taught us to commit ourselves to love and care for humanity, to all of humankind, not just a portion of it, whom we feel more comfortable. So let us keep marching on by taking upon the cross of Jesus Christ, by being faithful to our everyday tasks, but turning them into a sacred vocation, faithfully and every day, until we all reach the other side, overcoming these current challenges together. So as we walk together, following Jesus Christ, let us sing together as the Spirit of God united us and renew our spirit of love. So I invite you to join reflectively the following hymn and famous gospel. I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with us. We want Jesus to take our hand and walk to be the everyday saints in this day. Amen.